Welcome everybody to the Plumbing Working Group meeting for Thursday, February 11th, 2021. And first up, we have regular business. Doug, would you like to take that away?
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone would like to propose as a member and maintainer, now's the time. Otherwise, we have one project candidate, and it's from Tomo. I don't want to steal his thunder, but it's a cool utility that integrates with kubectl, and it adds a new command, which is kubectl podnet. And then it parses the network status annotation and gives you some output. So it's a handy dandy util for a little bit of easier visibility for our net attachment definitions. And if anyone will go ahead, Tomo.
So thank you for your introduction there, Doug. So if possible, I'd like to show some small prototyping demo. Can I share my desktop?
Yep, let me enable that. Just a second. All right, you should be good.
Okay, let me try to share screen. Okay, can you see my terminal?
Looks good.
Yep.
So we have the kube control get so 2 port, right? And then the portnet just showing the this stuff. So that's it. So easy to understand, right? So this is the portnet just process the our network pumping working group network status and then the output. So
that's pretty cool. How does that actually integrate with kubectl, if I may ask? Is there like a plugin framework?
Yep.
Oh,
just
cool.
the
Okay.
plugin get
nice.
List. So I just implement this one.
Okay, neat.
Cool.
So currently I'm just wondering where should we put this stuff? So I suppose that this working group repository should be the fit. So that's why I'm proposing this stuff.
Awesome. I think it's great personally. Is there anyone who has an objection?
It looks great. We should definitely take it.
Yeah, agree. No objection. Looks good.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Hey, Tomo, does this parse out the device info stuff that we included recently?
Not yet. Well, maybe if possible, I could this stuff, but now I don't have any depth route for that. So and then maybe this should be the kinds of the optional field, I think. So I'm going to add as some format option which extending the more information, and then the device info related stuff should be in these additional fields.
Okay.
By the way, I don't have the any example output for the network status output for device info stuff. So could you share if you have the some example?
Yeah, give me a second to hunt it down.
Or maybe, of course, after the meeting, please send me offline.
Yeah, I can also maybe paste it in here just so you'll have,
okay, cool.
in case other people want to see it.
All right, awesome. Sweet. I'm glad to see that there's already some more stuff we can add. It looks like we have accepted it. That being the case, for maintainer candidates, we've got Tomo and I, and anyone else who would like to join. Any objections? If not, I think that we can carry it on to the next part of the agenda. All right, I think it's me. I've got the first one. This is really just a PSA, but there is a CVE that's open for Protobuf library as vendored by the Kubernetes library. So if you've got a project that vendors the Kate's libraries, you should look into updating it. I don't know a whole lot about the attack surface. Mostly I know that it's called the Skippy peanut butter issue and it's listed as a CVE. So just a heads up. And that's really all I've got on that one.
All right. Thanks, Doug. Tomo, you've got the next item, container registry updates.
Okay, so this is about the update from the last meeting. I mean that the so currently our repository network pumping working group, the repositories, the container image is put it in the kinds of the my groups of the in the Red Hat and the Docker hub, so that this is not the not the community repository. So that's why we are just seeking the which container repository is the feasible. So the previously, so the Docker hub is going to have some additional policy for container images. So maybe this is not good. So we now are looking for Quay, and then the GitHub container registry seems to be the stuff. And then I add the update at the last meeting agenda. I mean that. So the gist is the Quay and the GitHub container registry. This is the two option. Quay is the G8 service, so that we can use, and then of course the free. And then GitHub container registry is also the free. However, this is still in the beta stuff. And then the GitHub does not announce what is changed at the G8 service. So maybe the GitHub may requesting some additional fee for container registry in the production. So I'm just thinking that we could, the Quay is the better option to create the account. So and then then both Quay and the GitHub content registry supports the multi-architecture images. So especially for Maltus, the publishing the multi-architecture images. I mean that not only the x86 and ARM PowerPC. So we should choose one of them. So is there any comment or opinion for that?
I think you make a really good point, Tomo, that with Quay, we've got a lot of knowns about it being GA, and then GitHub, there are still some questions about it. I would say that one advantage of GitHub is that we've already kind of got everyone set up with the permissions in GitHub. So theoretically, it would be kind of a seamless management of those images, but I don't know if that's a good enough trade-off against the knowns of a GA service.
What are people's experiences with the GitHub container registry? I honestly don't have any. I'm just wondering, has it been down for people in the past? Does it work pretty smoothly? Is it basically like Docker and Quay?
So the GitHub container, yeah, I tested the 2 or 3 times in my personal repository, and then it seems to be it works. And then this also integrates with the GitHub Actions. So if you implementing the some CI workflow in the GitHub Action, and then it's easy to putting this result container images to the GitHub container registry. And then also the GitHub content registry allows the access permissions per user, not the query. So once we create the query, the query is only create the one user account, so we cannot. Or maybe we should create the query group, and then we should everyone needs to be at the account in the query. So from the user's experience point of view, GitHub content registry seems to be easy to maintain from administrative point of view.
Okay. Is the only downside that it is beta and
Yep.
we don't have a lot of road testing on it yet?
Yep. And then also the so currently the GitHub is saying that this is free, but I don't know the feature is like the Docker Hub.
Right. I mean, we can always move over to something else in the future too. I guess
Okay.
if it's integrated with our pipelines and stuff like that, GitHub Actions, maybe it's a little harder, but still. I mean, I was going to say, full disclosure, the one possibly perceived downside of Quay is that it is a Red Hat owned service.
Yep. Wow. Yeah. Maybe. So how about the use the GitHub content registry first, and then they see the GitHub keeping their policy as the open source friendly or not?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's worth a trial period, and if people start implementing it and we're not happy with it, we can always switch it over. Sweet. Tomo, thanks for digging into this one to pull out the nitty-gritty here. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Tomo. Doug, back with logo.
All right. So Tomo has been putting together some preliminary work to help us, promote our community. And Tomo has a couple things that he's been working on, such as kind of outlining what we might put in some website content. And then also he's been outlining some ideas for some YouTube videos so that we can give kind of a newbie-friendly introduction to some of our technologies, which, as we all know, sometimes can be fairly dense, although when you get down to using them, I don't think they're terribly complicated to use. So one thing I thought might look nice is to put together a logo. So I took a initial crack at drawing up some of my own. And I threw them in a doc here. I would love to get any feedback, or I would also love it if other people want to propose some as well. But I think that it would just provide kind of a cohesive branding for the group, and then I guess beyond that, it'd also be nice for the laptop sticker factor. So keep that in mind as you look at it, that it would work as a sticker because I already want one. That is basically what I've got on that one. Yeah, feel free to comment on that doc, or to bring some more suggestions to the table. I'm not married to it in any shape, way, or form. So. And that's what I've got.
All right. Thanks, Doug and Tomo, for putting that stuff together. Yeah, I guess if anybody has comments, please send them, list or otherwise. Is there any other business?
Now that we have some time, can I ask some question before we close?
Sure. Go right ahead.
So I was using OVS9 Whereabouts IPAM, to actually try to configure some DNS inside the pods, like secondary networking through Multus and network attachment definitions. But for some reason, the DNS configuration that I have in the IBAM section in the network attachment definition doesn't appear inside the pod. So I'm not sure why. Do you have any quick questions? Quick answer to that? Sorry.
And you know what? This is, I can help take a look at that. Let me pull up an issue. I think there's a regression in the latest edition. So one thing, whereabouts implement. So the way that it sets DNS is borrowed line for line from static CNI, and whereabouts implements everything that static IPAM implements.
Yeah, I mean,
however,
I have already checked that because I was using routes from static CNI, the same way that we use from whereabouts CNI, and route was working perfectly.
so and route actually worked. All right. Let's see if I can. I'm just looking through the issues here. I think that we have a spot where we can track this particular problem.
So one question. So in this case, the DNS configuration is both both CNI. I mean that the cluster network and then the network definition.
Sorry, can you please repeat the question?
So the if you're using the Multus, and then you must configure the first the default network, right? And then you may add the additional network as the network.
Yeah, yeah,
so
exactly. So we have the default network, which is it's 0, and then you have net 1, which is configured through Multus.
So the which the network configuration have the DNS configuration?
The first one, the ETH0. I'm not. It has a network configuration by default. It's not loaded by Multus, but I want to add some extra DNS configuration through. Does it answer your question?
Yep. But well, so the so you mean that the so no DNS configuration in the network attachment definition side, right?
I have a DNS configuration inside the NAD, but this configuration doesn't appear inside the pod when it consumes the NAD.
Yeah, so the as far as I know, the DNS configuration is the how do I say, exclusive configuration. I mean that if the cluster network have the DNS configuration, then this configuration is must used, and then the additional DNS cannot be used. This is because the from the Unix perspective, we could add the multiple net DNS in the resolve conf. However, the only one server is used there, so that this is not the how do I say, sum of the group of the DNS server. So the
okay. So if we have already some DNS configuration in resolve conf because of due to the ETH0 interface, like due to the primary networking configuration anyhow, then if you try to pass an extra DNS server through network attachment definition,
this
then
was not appeared.
Not appeared. Yeah. Okay.
And
So
also they are without the Multus and then the container. Let's think on the bare metal Unix. At that time, we can add the multiple lines of the name server. However, only one line is used. I mean that let's imagine that we have the name server A and the name server B and then C. At that time, this is no round robin stuff. So every time the query goes to the server A first line. So that's it's the behavior of the Unix. So the sometimes we would like to, if the ABC case, let's try the A, and if there is no record, and let's try to go to B. But the Linux network stack and then also the Unix as well does not behave so much such like that.
Okay. Should we have some? From what you're saying, this is not considered a bug. This is considered a normal functionality, I will say. So,
Yeah.
should we have some comment somewhere in Multus or in whereabouts? I don't know. That actually states that if you use IPAM DNS configuration for configuring a secondary network interface inside the pod, this DNS configuration will not be appeared. Something like that. I'm just suggesting stuff here.
I think that's fair enough to add there, and maybe it belongs in both the docs for static CNI and also for whereabouts. But Dimitri, are you saying that does it appear in the list of name servers when you use whereabouts, or didn't even appear in the list of name servers?
I mean, when you consume this NAD, so you have a network attachment definition with obvious CNI, for instance, and you have an IPAM section where you use whereabouts, okay?
Yeah.
In the same NAD. And in that IPAM section, you have a DNS server, like a single name server, okay? In that DNS configuration. And you load this NAD to the pod template, and when the pod comes up, this name server doesn't appear in the resolve.conf file inside the pod.
Okay, that may be a bug itself. As Tom was saying, if multiple get added and it does just use the first, so I think that's normal consideration. Hey Dimitri, how about this? I've got an issue opened on whereabouts. It's number 87. I put it in chat and the agenda. Would you mind just sharing your configuration, whatever is shareable for it, like the net attached F that you're using? And then I'll go try to replicate it, and let's make sure that this is operating the way that we anticipate in the first place. The fact that it's not in the results object seems weird to me, so I'm worried that there's a regression here.
Okay, but Tomo said that it should not be appeared, right? Or it should appear, but
Oh,
doesn't.
it's not.
Right, Tomo? Should be appear or not? Not, right?
So that you only you only using the whereabouts in the network attached definition, right? Not the
Yes.
cluster network.
No.
Yep. So that's the expectation, I think. So.
Okay. And I have asked a colleague who is more expert than me to the OVSA9 whereabouts IPAMs and stuff, and he told me that the IPAMs doesn't actually configure any DNS. They just return the actual configuration to the OVSA9 to do the configuration inside the pod, like configure the IPs on the interfaces and stuff like that. And maybe it's not even a whereabout problem. Maybe it's like OVSNI problem. Does it ring a bell or whatever? Okay. Anyway, I will thanks Doug and Tomo. I will add my configuration in the issue that you have there. I will add my NAD that I'm using, and yeah, we can discuss over that issue.
Okay, cool. I will I'll just double check it on my end. I definitely I expect that Tomo is probably right in this case. So in the case that this is operating as expected, I'm gonna make sure I get a documentation update in there, because I appreciate you sharing the experience for sure. So thank you very much.
So,
no problem. Thank you, guys.
All right. Anything else?
So regarding these issues, this is pretty interesting things that they how should we managing the DNS in case of the multi-network case. And then the previous behavior, I mean that the first DNS take over the everything. See this, so this is the implicitly the rules, and then this is in the Linux or Unix network stuff, not the container specific stuff. But also the maybe we could write somewhere stuff, and then I'm just wondering the where should be right about that. Maybe the kinds of the additional note of the network, our network spec, or maybe the CNI. I mean that the if so this also the related to if multiple DNS server is in the one result object. At that time, the how so I I don't remember actually, but the CNI spec does not mentions this stuff, right?
No, it doesn't really talk about that. It's basically just this stuff goes in resolve.conf, and like
Yeah.
has been mentioned, resolve.conf and Linux standard glibc DNS and such
Yeah.
are not network specific. It is a kind of global resource for the container. The only way to do per network DNS or split DNS would be to have some kind of local caching name server that was specific for that container that you could feed information into. I mean, you could, for example, redirect all DNS inside the container to 127.0.0.1. You could run an init container with a DNS server for that network namespace that listens on 127.0.0.1 inside the container. And then it, like, DNS mask, for example, is the common one. And then you could set certain search domains or certain DNS domains, direct those domains to different DNS servers that would go out a certain interface. So if you have one interface that's like 10.x and another interface that's 172.16.x, you have everything for foo.com go to 172.16, whatever that name server is for that network, and then everything else go to the other one.
Yeah.
The problem is that this is only going to work if somebody has a feature that intercepts the DNS traffic and then redirects it based on the information coming out of each network. It's kind of taking what we can already do on the host, where lots of installations run a local caching name server and split DNS for like VPN reasons or other reasons, and then putting that into a per container solution.
Okay. I'm just thinking that we have the two issues around this stuff. One is the how to managing the one resolve conf from the multiple CNI invocation, or maybe we also need to specify the behavior how the resolve conf is managed in the CNI in the explicitly. That's the one stuff. And then another things is let's imagine that we actually have the 2 DNS server or more, and then at that time how to utilize this stuff using the at that time I understood that the DNS mask, or maybe the core DNS or other, you also could implement anything at all, and then do some so the how do I say so the pattern matching, and then the changing the DNS server to query that. So maybe that this is also this is related to the network issue, the challenges, and then they both should be addressed in the some future, not now actually, but.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to be more explicit about how resolve.conf should be handled in the multi-network case. The problem is we can't actually do anything because, as you say, the first DNS server is always used, I think, until it like returns some error until it fails, and then it kind of round robins to the next one in the normal glibc implementation. But I mean, if multiple networks give you multiple DNS servers. There's really no good way to split that query. But that said, should we say something like the primary network's DNS server should be the first one and thus used by default, and then other ones can be appended. But that's still not going to give great behavior, because if for some reason the primary DNS server glitches and glibc goes on to the next one and starts using that, that's going to be for a different network, and that might not return the right result.
Yeah.
So
maybe this is the good challenges for further CNI specification. I mean that the CNI 2.0 or some stuff.
Yeah, could be. The other thing that occurs to me is, you had mentioned core DNS, Tomo. Most all containers will have an assigned IP address. Unless it's an L2 container or something like that. But point being, like, if you're doing DHCP, you have an IP address, and most of the time that will be assigned and fairly well managed by the cluster. So you could conceive of a system as well where the intelligence about DNS servers actually goes to one DNS server, core DNS on the node or somewhere else, that then uses the source IP of the request to serve different results. That might be another way to do it.
I see.
And then you'd have to make sure that, you'd funnel the information about which domains go to which server to that core DNS instance or whatever other DNS servers running in the cluster.
Yeah.
So there are ways to do it, but honestly, I think it's a lot of work, and it's probably out of scope for the moment.
Yeah, and then also we should the identify the which maybe we should improve the facing these challenges as the bottom up. I mean that solving the easy stuff, and then they are making the more difficult. So we should be thinking about which one is the minimum use case. So I'm pretty with you, and then let's continue to thinking about this stuff.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other business? All right, last call for topics. Anybody? If not, we will see everybody in 2 weeks.
All right, catch you all soon. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.